Good morning, Manitoba. I am Larry McIntosh, and I'll be your host for the next hour and every Saturday morning from 8 to 9. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've had an opportunity to download Peak of the Market's mobile recipe app. It works on your phone, including the new iPhone 6, and on your iPad. Peak Recipe app is available free through Apple, Android, or BlackBerry World app stores, or via peakmarket.com. If you haven't downloaded it yet, all you have to do is go to any of these sites or peakmarket.com and search for Peak Recipes. And it has over 4,000 recipes at your fingertips. You can search for recipes in several ways, create a shopping list, can even increase the size of the font on the recipe. For every person who downloads the free Peak Recipes app by October 31st, Peak of the Market growers will donate 20 pounds of fresh vegetables to the Winnipeg Harvest Food Bank. So we're very excited by our new mobile app. So we'd like you to download and give it a try. And you know what? Let's be honest. If you download it, you don't like it, you can always delete it. But we think you're going to like it. Like I said, over 4,000 recipes. And at the same time, you'll be helping out Winnipeg Harvest. My guest this morning is Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer for Granny's Poultry Cooperative. Good morning, Craig.
Morning, Larry. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And you?
Pretty good, thanks.
You know, in those 4,000 recipes on that app I was talking about, over 4,000 recipes, there's some for turkey.
I've got to get that app.
And there's some for chicken.
Well, that's fantastic.
Say, we're working with you here.
It's great protein, Larry.
We're not just vegetables, you know, although every recipe will have some sort of vegetable in it.
Well, it's great. I think the app is great, and the fact that that if people download the app, you're donating to Winnipeg Harvest, which is a great cause. And I know you're a big supporter, as we are. So
yes, absolutely. And you don't need to do the app while we're on the show, but during commercials, hey, you can download the app then, right? So Granny's Poultry Cooperative, I think everybody knows the name Granny's. And I was talking to a few people this week that, I said, you're going to be on the show. And they said, oh, well, they do chickens, right? And I said, and turkey. And then other people said, oh, they do turkeys. Oh, and I said, and chickens.
Yeah.
So you say poultry, but are you known for one more than the other? Or?
We're probably known. It's interesting. Locally, we're probably known more for our chicken than our turkeys.
Okay.
But our turkeys are distributed coast to coast. And when you talk to people, it's funny, in the Maritimes or out in the West Coast, they know Granny's turkey.
Okay.
So nationally, our turkey brand is certainly more popular because of its exposure, but locally, people, I think, know us more for our chicken.
Now, you go coast to coast with turkey. Does that mean we're one of the larger turkey producers here, or? Yeah,
it's interesting. We're one of only 2 turkey processors in Western Canada, and probably only 8 turkey processors in all of Canada. And so it's a relatively small brethren that processes turkey for Canadians, and we are one of the larger ones. We probably have about 14% of the Canadian turkey market. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a wild guess here. Thanksgiving is coming up very shortly.
Yeah.
Is that a big time for you?
It's a huge time for us. We probably do double, almost triple our normal monthly sales in September, just getting turkeys to the store, and it's pretty frantic up until next Wednesday. so it's good to be.
And then
here.
It's got to be in the store by that point, right?
Absolutely, and so people, we'll be working all weekend getting turkeys into position.
So, let's talk about the cooperative a little bit. How many producers do you have in Manitoba?
Yeah. That's great. We have about 188 producers, 125, 126 that are active members. So they're both chicken, turkey, and hatching egg producers.
Okay.
And they own the co-op. I work for them, and they're a very the cooperative's been around for about 35, 40 years now, and it's grown from the Blumenort Turkey Cooperative all the way to Granny's Poultry now, and we're like I say, a significant player in the turkey market and a significant player in the chicken market.
I knew you did a lot of turkeys because I think we've run into airports. You had airports in Winnipeg, Toronto, I believe, with Calgary once. I think
Ottawa.
So Ottawa. That's right. So you did get around and talk about, as we do vegetables, you talk about turkeys. And I didn't realize that we were so big in the turkey industry. I thought every province had a Granny's type of organization.
You know what? It's the biggest surprise to the people I talk to is they don't realize how significant a player Granny's is in the turkey business. Not to say our chicken business isn't important to us or isn't small, but at the end of the day, on the turkey side, we're a very significant player in Canada, and like I say, we represent almost 15% of the market. So that's almost 1 in 5 turkeys in Canada.
So this week coming into Thanksgiving, we've got a full week left yet. Is there going to be a turkey shortage?
There will be no turkey shortage,
No
I can
turkey
assure you.
shortage. Okay.
We start processing turkeys in May to sell it in September. So there'll be no turkey shortage this year.
Because there's a pumpkin shortage that's for Halloween. So I just
didn't know that.
I thought it hit the news this week. Although I've been talking about it in the radio show for a few weeks, it kind of got picked up today that, or not today, but this week, and today it was on CBC this morning as well. But the pumpkin shortage, and I don't think it's going to be dramatic, but people should go buy pumpkins soon, or their selection won't be as good.
I'll pick one up on the way home because I love pumpkin pie. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So the turkey's obviously big time, but what I always think of, you think of turkey, you think of, I'm going to be wrong, but Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you do business on a year-round basis?
Turkey, we do about 85% of our turkey business between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
So the whole bird business is very, very seasonal, and we are predominantly a whole bird turkey plant. Processed turkey is probably the single most popular sandwich meat. It's probably even more popular than ham, and that sells year round. But we're not involved in the cooked side of the business. So.
So we should get turkey and vegetables for this coming up weekend. Lots of vegetables with that turkey, right?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with Craig Evans, CEO of Granny's Poultry Cooperative, after we take this break for your 680 CJOB weather update. Welcome back to Food and Friends. As you may know, it's the beginning of October, so that means that there's lots of Manitoba-grown vegetables available right now at your local store. So here's a Manitoba crop update of what you can get at your store. Beets, broccoli, kale, leeks, cauliflower, parsnips, carrots, rutabagas, green, red, and Savoy cabbage, red onions, shallots, pumpkins, get them soon, green acorn, banana, and buttercup and butternut squashes. Well, that was a mouthful. Red, russet, and yellow potatoes. Now, something brand new for Peak of the Market this year is our red yellow potatoes. Red yellows they're called. Peak of the Market, red yellows is our brand name, and these potatoes have a red skin and yellow flesh. So look for the Peak of the Market red yellows potato bag with Big Bird on the front and Elmo on the back. So you get it? It's like Big Bird's yellow, so he's in the front, and Elmo is red. He's in the back. The perfect Sesame Street characters for our new red yellow potatoes. So look for these potatoes and all our Sesame Street potato bags in your store now. They're colorful, they're fun, so please look for them. And as always, if it says Peak of the Market on the label, you are guaranteed it is grown right here in Manitoba. We're back with Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer for Granny's Poultry Cooperative. Now, you've listened to the show before. You know that after I rhyme off all the vegetables, I always ask the guests to name them alphabetically.
Yeah. Beets.
There you go. Good enough. And the zucchini's done, so you can't say you can't go to the other end of it there. But vegetables, chicken, turkey, what's better than that, really?
Yeah, fantastic. Particularly with the holiday season coming up here, right? Thanksgiving. It doesn't get any better than nice roast turkey with some veggies on the side.
Now, we were talking in the last segment about you have over 100 producers in Manitoba.
Yeah.
So if it's Granny's, is it always Manitoba?
Granny's, we also we have some turkey producers in Saskatchewan that ship to us.
Mm-hmm.
They like the idea of the cooperative, and they support the cooperative that way. And there's no turkey processor in Saskatchewan, so they can either take their birds to Alberta, or they can bring them here to Manitoba. So
And they choose Manitoba.
they choose Manitoba, and
that's
they
wise.
choose to support the cooperative, which is great for us.
And I was reading some stats that I assume we got from your website, because Shelley does all this, but annual sales. I mean, I before you answer these questions, and we'll see if you know all the answers or not, because it's a bit of a quiz, I guess, right? I had no idea. I know Granny's, it's a household name, and certainly rates very highly in surveys when you think of Manitoba food products. But I didn't realize how big it was.
Yeah, Granny's is we are a large processor. Certainly, as we mentioned, on the turkey side. On the chicken side, again, we process half the chickens in Manitoba, and we certainly process all the turkeys in Manitoba. We're about 165 million in sales, and when you think about the 188 farmers that own us, that's a pretty big accomplishment for rural Manitoba.
And how many people would you employ?
We employ close to 500 people. 450 roughly would be in our Blumenort facility just north of Steinbach, and another 50-60 in Transcona, where I work, where our chick hatchery is as well.
So that's just for Granny's itself. And the industry, of course, would be that many more people,
Yeah.
all the producers.
Yeah, and so like I say, you throw the producers on and everything else that all the employees that they have, and it's a going concern. The poultry industry in Manitoba is very, very important to the rural economy.
Now, we're talking during the commercial break because you didn't download your Peak app, I noticed, but we'll come back to that. During the commercial break, we're talking about you're a fairly large company by my standards, but you're saying in Canada you're not a huge processor when it comes to some of the other places, I assume, in Ontario, Quebec?
Yeah, when you look at Manitoba in total, we process or we produce about 4% of the chickens in the country, and if we process half, we process 2% of the chickens in the country.
Right.
You look at Ontario, for example. They have almost, between Quebec and Ontario, they've got well over 60-70% of the market of the production. So they're significantly larger, and of course the scale of the processing operations there would be much larger as well, with the Maple Leafs of the world and the Maple Lodges and Ole Mills and people like that.
And that's hard for me to believe when I read these stats. I mean, the chickens processed on an average day, 60,000.
Yeah, so 60,000 birds a day on the chicken side and about 10,000 turkeys. It's a lot, but we have a single line. We call it a dual species plant. So we process chickens in the morning and turkeys in the afternoon, and that keeps our plant cost down. When you look at some of the big Ontario plants, they're double shifting. So they're processing. Their lines are probably a little larger than ours, and they're running 2 shifts on them. So it's we're in the game with some pretty big players, but we can compete. We can hold our own with some of these guys.
Now, my favorite is chicken wings. Now, I know it's probably not as healthy as other things. I get that. But that's my favorite, especially when I'm watching a football game or a hockey game. You just got to, I don't know, it's part of what I have to do. But there's all different parts of the bird, right?
Yeah.
You have to worry about selling whatever part versus the other part. Is that a challenge?
That's a big challenge, and I'm glad to hear like chicken wings, because we're actually backed up on chicken wings right now.
I can help out.
So as much as there's a pumpkin shortage, we have a surplus of wings right now, and wings are an interesting commodity, as you mentioned. The highest time for selling wings, Grey Cup and Super Bowl.
Okay.
And so people will stockpile wings just for those 2 events. But to your point, we have to sell the whole bird. We can't sell just the leg meat. We can't sell just the breast meat. We have to sell everything. And so it comes in different times. Predominantly, Canada is a white meat eating country, but with a lot of immigration, most immigrants will prefer the dark meat. So we're starting to see more balance over time, even in the 8 years I've been with the organization.
So things are balancing out.
Things are starting to balance out a little bit, but the demand for chicken right now is through the roof. And we were talking earlier, you got high beef prices, high pork prices. We're just finding the demand for chicken. That's helping the demand for chicken right now.
We'll be right back with Craig Evans from Granny's Poultry Cooperative after we take this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. It's time for a recipe segment called Now We're Cooking. You don't need to write this recipe down, as it's today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Sun. So all the information's in today's Winnipeg Sun or on our website. Today's recipe is hearty minestrone soup. Hearty minestrone soup. Here's what you need for the recipe. 1/2 pound of Italian sausage, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 onion chopped. For best results, use Manitoba onions. 1 garlic clove minced, 1/2 cup of celery chopped, 1/2 cup of carrots chopped, 1/2 cup of red peppers chopped, 16 ounces of stewed tomatoes chopped, and 2 teaspoons of parsley flakes. And that's why we put it on the website. Holy mackerel. 1/2 teaspoon of dried basil and a pinch of dried thyme. 1 bay leaf, 4 cups of chicken stock. Oh, Craig will be happy with that. 1/2 cup of small pasta shells uncooked, and 14 ounces of red kidney beans undrained. In a skillet, add the sausage and cook until lightly brown, then drain on a paper towel. In a large saucepan, add the oil and heat over medium heat. Add the onion and garlic and saute until softened. Then add the celery, carrots, and red pepper and cook, stirring frequently for about 3 minutes. Add the tomatoes and seasoning, then stir in the chicken broth, pasta, and sausage meat. Bring to a boil and simmer until pasta is cooked, about 10 to 15 minutes. Then add the kidney beans and simmer for about 10 minutes or until the beans are heated through and flavors are blended. Season with salt and pepper to taste if you desire. This recipe serves 10. Again, hearty minestrone soup is today's recipe of the day at peakmarket.com and in the Winnipeg Sun. And all the recipes on our website or in the newspaper have both metric and imperial measurements. We'll be right back with Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer for Granny's Poultry Cooperative, after we take this break for your 680 CJOB News, Sports, and Weather. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Did you know that each Food and Friends radio show is filmed and will be posted at MyToba.ca later this weekend? If you want to see the TV version of this show or previous radio shows, please visit MyToba.ca. Thanks to 680 CJOB's Nicole, who produces our show, and Chad, who operates the camera, as well as the teachers of the Broadcasting and Media Arts program at TechVoc High School. You can also listen to an audio podcast of Food and Friends at the SoundCloud.com or at the iTunes store. So just do a search for Food and Friends with Larry at MyToba.ca or SoundCloud.com or at the iTunes store, and all the shows will come up for your listening or viewing pleasure. It's very important for me to mention that Food and Friends is only available because of 680 CJOB and its advertisers. So please make sure you tune in to 680 CJOB or listen live at cjob.com. We're back with Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer for Granny's Poultry Cooperative. So that's Chad over there behind the camera, as I was talking about there.
Hey, Chad.
So we're talking during the break there about innovation. Is innovation important in your business, or is it more just turkeys, chicken, and selling all the various sections, so to speak?
Yeah, no, innovation is important because you can use innovation to get rid of some of the things that you're long on. So if you back up, for example, on turkey thighs or whatever, if you can turn that into a roast or something different, then that's of value to you. We've invested a lot of money and time in innovation. We've done work in the past with the Food Development Center in Portage. We've done work with the Richardson Center for Functional Food and Nutraceuticals. And most recently, we've partnered and we provided a grant to the Patterson Global Food Institute. And we have a food lab there, and we work with students, and they do some research for us. In fact, we have an office over there that we can use. One of our employees, who is a chef, he works some days out of that office and with the students on new products and new product development, and we do sensory testing and it's crazy when you think chicken's chicken, but there's things you can do to improve the flavor or the texture of that meat or that protein. So we've done work with omega-3s, we've done work with flax oil with Shape Foods out in western Manitoba. And it's interesting stuff. Some of it's taken off. We have some stuffed turkey roast with omega-3 and flaxseed in the market right now. We have turkey breast roasts that when we get long on turkey breast, we use them for that. And those are both in food service and in retail. So innovation is a very, very important part of our business.
So a lot of these products be frozen, or they're not cooked, you were saying earlier, right?
They're all uncooked, so you have to cook them. Most of them are frozen. We have some products, a turkey breast that you can get at the deli in Safeway, or I guess it's Sobeys now, and it's right beside the deli chickens, and you can get a turkey breast if you don't want to cook a whole bird, and it's a nice product. So
you were saying earlier with Granny's 8 years?
About that now, yeah.
So during that time, there's been lots of different products that you've come out with?
We've had a few. Some have worked really well. Some have not worked really well.
See, that's where I was going, because not everything works for me. I was just wondering.
No, that's part of the challenge of innovation, and you can't get discouraged by it. You got to keep working at it, and we've got some other things down the pipe that we're working on here that we hope to be able to launch in the next year or two.
So what do you see happening in your industry in the next 5 years?
That's a really good question. Certainly, these past 5 years, there's been lots of changes. We see that change continuing. You see the retailers and the distributors consolidating and getting bigger, and that's putting pressure on the industry and forcing companies like ourselves to find ways to take cost out of our business and be competitive in the market, particularly against some of those big players. And that's also what's driving innovation as well. So how can we be unique? How can we be different? How can we stay relevant with retailers that are getting, much more powerful in the marketplace?
Do you see that continuing as far as innovation? Do you see new trends coming down the road, or do you see growth in business, or it's going to kind of stay the same? Or
No, we certainly see growth in the business. We see growth both in terms of just consumption compared to other proteins. We also see growth just in the number of birds we process. Of course, that's driven by consumption, but we think Manitoba is a good place to be growing chickens and turkeys, and we're doing what we can to keep the business growing here.
and if you had to say what your number one challenge is, what do you think it is?
Right now, our number one challenge is getting enough birds to supply the demand that's out there.
Wow, isn't that a great challenge?
It's a great challenge. It's a great place to be in, but unfortunately, the cattle farmers and the hog farmers, their product is not in as much demand, because the prices have gotten so high. But we've chicken and turkey has sort of filled that void, and at some level we're seeing more featuring at the retail level that we just can't keep up with. But we do what we can. We got a great crew, great staff, great producers that work with us and help with us, and we couldn't do it without them at the end of the day. And we do the best to try and keep everybody happy.
And what's your favorite vegetable?
My favorite vegetable, seriously, is asparagus.
Asparagus. Well, that's a very short window of opportunity for Manitoba growers. About 7 weeks. That's all we.
The other one is potatoes, but I got to back away from the potatoes these days.
No, you don't. You just have to back away with what you put on the potatoes.
That's a good point.
The potatoes are good for you. 45% of your daily recommended vitamin C, high in potassium, more than a banana.
The other one, the other favorite I have, carrots.
Carrots, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Favorite meat?
Favorite meat is chicken.
Oh, really? Are you sure you didn't want to go with one of the others?
Second one's turkey.
Ah.
Yeah. Actually, for me, Thanksgiving is it's the smell of that turkey in the oven that really does it for me.
The big holidays, right? And I look at our busiest times are obviously Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter, because people eat big family meals. They tend to eat at home more. It's all the vegetables. It's the turkeys. It's it's a great time of year. I love these time of years.
I do too. It's for me. It's one of those things, and I think for our staff as well. You're a big part of bringing families together, and a lot of times families don't have an opportunity to get together. And for us, if we're part of that, bringing families together, it makes our job feel that much better. And that's why our employees they're busting themselves right now to get those turkeys out the door, because families are counting on them. They want their turkey at Thanksgiving.
Bringing families together.
Yeah.
I got to use that. That's pretty.
That.
That's pretty good.
I'll give you that one, Larry.
Well, I'm gonna have to go back on Monday and use that with my coworkers. Bringing families together for Thanksgiving. I quite like that. So the business is booming. Which is great. Your problem is you don't necessarily have enough birds, which is a super problem to have versus the other way around. So things are looking good.
Things are looking good. We've had we're having a good year. We expect to have a good year this year. Like I say, I think. The poultry industry in Manitoba is a good industry. The producers, we work well with. We get lots of support from them. As a cooperative too, it's everything goes back into Manitoba. And we're all about how do we make this a good, solid, sustainable industry for Manitobans.
And we're going to come back and talk a little bit about the producers after we take this break. We're here with Craig Evans, CEO of Granny's Grocery Cooperative. No, that's not true. Poultry Cooperative. Yeah, groceries on my mind right after we take this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. For all you that are involved in school or daycare fundraising in some way, I just wanted to tell you about the Farm to School Manitoba fundraiser. This fundraiser is open to all Manitoba schools, K-12, and all licensed daycares anywhere in our province. Basically, the fundraiser works like this. Students sell bundles of Manitoba-grown vegetables to raise money for their school or daycare. It could be to raise money for a school trip, sports tournament, new equipment, whatever it might be. Bundle A sells for $10, and it has carrots, cooking onions, and red potatoes. And Bundle B, which has larger packs of carrots, red potatoes, and cooking onions, as well as green cabbage and parsnips, sells for $20. Now, each bundle also comes with a reusable shopping bag that's great for grocery shopping when you go out and get your vegetables and turkeys. The great thing about this fundraiser is the school or daycare keeps 50% of the profit. half the selling price, and that's great for any fundraiser. Last year, the fundraiser raised over $400,000 for Manitoba schools and daycares. That's what they kept. This year, the fundraiser runs until December 12th and is open to any school or daycare anywhere in Manitoba. And our producers will take it by truck, we'll take it by train, we'll fly it in, whatever we got to do to service any community in Manitoba. If you're interested in getting more information on the Farm to School fundraiser or to register your school or daycare, please visit our website at peakmarket.com or the Farm to School Manitoba website at farmtoschoolmanitoba.ca. We're back with Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer for Grand East Poultry Cooperative. So we talked about it before the break. You have 180 producers?
188 members, about 150 of which would be active.
Right. And you've been with the company 8 years. So for them to decide to bring you in, and I imagine it was a board of directors or however it works, you've been in the industry a long, long time, right?
I've been, it's funny, I took commerce in school in Vancouver at UBC. Okay. I took agricultural economics as an elective, and I said, I don't know why I'd ever need this stuff. And I've actually worked my whole career in agriculture, and I've enjoyed my time. I certainly enjoy my time in agriculture, and couldn't think of working anywhere else, any other industry kind of thing. Working with producers, putting food on people's tables is it's a pretty special feeling. And
it's something that people need, right? Look, they cut other things out during, tough times or whatever, but they need food.
Absolutely. People say, the food industry, it's recession-proof, and I've worked for a lot of different food companies or agricultural companies, and it's always been the same thing. How do you feed people affordably? How do you give them safe, wholesome, delicious food at a reasonable price? And certainly feel very strongly about that, and feel good to be a part of it, and good to be a part of people's lives that way.
So where were you born?
I was actually born in Vancouver, raised in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Moved back to Vancouver, had a brief stint in the Maritimes going to school, came back, finished up my degree in Vancouver, and then literally as a corporate gypsy, traveled around and finally settled in Manitoba, in Winnipeg here, and Winnipeg is actually the longest I've lived anywhere. I'm not sure if I'm considered a Manitoban yet, but at the end of the day, I've been here just probably coming up on 17, 18 years now.
I think you're a Manitoban now. I'll go out on a limb and say that.
Hey, thanks, Larry. I know you're from Ontario, so.
But you've traveled all across Canada, and you've lived across Canada.
Absolutely.
And what do you see different in different communities, say Manitoba versus other places?
Manitoba it's a very strong sense of community. I think the willingness for people to volunteer, the willingness for people to pitch in and help out. The volunteer spirit here is like none other I've seen before. And I think when you look at other large cities and the commutes that people have and those types of things, it's very difficult for them to get involved. They might want to get involved, but their time is consumed by commuting and traffic jams and other things that I think here in Manitoba we don't have, and I think that's one of the best kept secrets. But when you,
I would argue the traffic jam thing here on a Saturday morning, the traffic in this area with all the construction, it's still a little irritating.
Well, when that Target gets open, I'm sure it'll be fine. But I'm not disagreeing with.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But I think when you look at that, when you look at the number of people you can get out to volunteer at different events, whether it's the Pan Am Games or the soccer or whatever. And they're taking time out of their lives to be a part of it, and you don't see that in other cities. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest differences I see, that the sense of community, the willingness and the pride that people have in their community is second to none in any place I've lived in Canada.
And certainly, if anybody listens to the show, they know I would 100% agree with you. And I've lived all over Canada as well. But I would say that there's other indicators that we give more per capita than any other people in Manitoba, than any other province. That doesn't have anything to do with the commute. That's part of the spirit. Maybe it's because we're so involved in the community.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think you're right. We see it. Whether it's harvest or whatever, and I know you guys are big supporters, and we're there, dropping off stuff, and the people that are there working it blows me away. Like you wouldn't see that in other cities. I think the people here are proud of what they've built, what they've become, and when I look back at the co-op, I think that's the other thing that's sort of been driving the co-op. People are proud of what they've built. You know, we're a big plant. We're a player in the industry, and so to me that permeates the province, and it makes it's what makes Manitoba from my perspective.
And working together, whether that's in the cooperative or as a province and citizens of the province, it always makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I to me, I hope it never changes. You know, I tell my kids, you know, everyone says, well, we're going to move back to the coast or we're going to move to the big city. And I'm saying, you don't need to. You got everything you need right here, and you have none of the hassles that are associated with it. So,
yeah, absolutely. When I lived in Toronto, I lived way outside the city because that's where you could afford some housing, and it was an hour and 15 minutes drive.
yeah.
And that was on a good day. If it rained or it snowed, it was so we have a lot to appreciate here. The smaller commutes, the everything. We got the major teams, you got the cultural, all the things. So I would 100% agree with you. We're right back with Craig Evans, CEO of Granny's Poultry Cooperative, after we take this break. Welcome back to Food and Friends. Please join me next Saturday when my guest will be Paul Jordan, Chief Executive Officer of the Forks North Portage Partnership. Paul will tell us what the great things are happening at the Forks. I hear there's a museum that opened up at the Forks recently. My guest today has been Craig Evans, Chief Executive Officer of Granny's Poultry Cooperative, and two CEOs in a row. Wow.
Wow, back to back.
Back-to-back CEOs.
Huh?
Well, thank you for spending time with us today, because I know it's a crazy time of year for you, and Thanksgiving's next weekend, and you've got all those turkeys and chicken to going out. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, no problem, Larry. It's always a pleasure to connect with you, and certainly around Thanksgiving time, thank our customers for their support in making Granny's what it is today as well. And I want to wish you and Shelley and everyone at Peak happy Thanksgiving, and as well as everybody in Manitoba who is enjoying a Granny's turkey, hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Granny's website has turkey recipes, right?
Absolutely. Stuffing recipes, turkey recipes, and cranberry glazes. Just go to grannys.ca after you've gone to Peak.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg, for being on Food and Friends. Take care, and please don't forget to eat your veggies.